morning. I'm delighted to say Fergal O'Brien joins us in studio to look back on the World Championships. Fergal, all in all, I suppose when you have a first-time winner like this, it's hard to know whether or not this is like we're witnessing a one-time winner or somebody who's going to go on and have a great career. But notwithstanding that, it seems like it was a pretty good World Championships all told, with some controversy, some stereotypical Ronnie brilliance, him collapsing in the way he did. Not a bad 2 weeks all told.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a bit of everything. And even the protest, whatever, even that was good publicity, for snooker, because obviously sometimes it struggles a bit, to get the publicity and maybe recognition it deserves, especially over the 17 days, because it can be a bit of a drag. But
yeah,
it seemed to be every couple of days there seemed to be something going on. There was a couple of 147s, comebacks, the young Chinese player as well, so it was a bit of everything.
What's your instinct about where the game is in terms of its popularity at the moment?
I definitely think Luca helps. I suppose if you're a young player, if you look on the telly and maybe, we love Higgins and Ronnie and Mark Williams, but if you're a young kid looking at them, they look ancient, and then maybe goes to the studio. Again, Davis and Parrott, they're in their 60s or so, so whilst we love them with great respect, as a kid probably is not attractive. Whereas obviously now Luca's an old looking 28, to be fair. But
he is, isn't he?
Is that all he is?
Yeah.
But his style of play was so attacking and quick. Who wouldn't want to play like him as well? So I think that's good.
Yeah.
Then I think pre-COVID the game was doing really, really well, because obviously there was so many tournaments in China. Prize money was going up, it was good. Since then, it's hit a bit of a wall. The tournaments in China are going to start back up. If COVID hadn't happened and it was on the same trajectory, we'd going very well, but definitely hit the wall a piece.
Yeah, it's all set up for Netflix style. Everybody wants one. But snooker, I think, probably has just enough characters at the moment to justify it.
Yeah, but I think O'Sullivan did a documentary last year. I think that's due out. I think
very soon.
Is it Netflix? Is it?
Yeah. So
that should
maybe
be
that'll
good.
be the start of it.
Should be decent, but as you say, when you have a player of the style of Luca Brecel, and you could hear Stephen Hendry getting excited on commentary last night. Like, he obviously loves that type of play, but he's just one of these. And you hear about him partying and during the tournament and staying up late in the hotel bar. You just don't get that now with players in the modern day. So I think people nearly lean into someone like Luca Brecel.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way it goes on.
Yeah, it's old school. But even for myself, even before he played, to start, and you heard he'd only done 15 minutes practice, and then whatever about that. So you say maybe it might work if he's fresh, and then in between matches, then he's gone back to Belgium. I mean, I was kind of thinking, how many years have I wasted playing sober?
Yeah, no.
What chances have you gotten bed early and preparing? You know what I mean? So, but maybe that's the thing. It worked for him. So again, probably for old school, you're a bit like, no, you have to do you do certain things to get the certain result. Where it just doesn't. Ultimately, the matches are won and lost when you're playing. He was obviously very fresh when he played, looking forward to it, and probably switch, because I know myself. Not so much even the playing, but the couple of days in between matches can be so draining, because you're trying to do the right thing. You're in your room and we have a lot of time to think, whereas if you're there with a few friends and totally switch off, you ideally, but like as soon as you walk in the Crucible doors, you're like, right, snooker, and then as soon as you go, switch off. Or so you probably had a balance. I don't know whether you could get away with that all the time, but one off certainly worked.
It's funny, like I was at the Crucible last week for a few days, and even in backstage I bumped briefly into Luca, and I was struck by how small his entourage was. It was just his mate, literally just his friend. And I remember hearing that he doesn't have a sports psychologist, which I'd imagine in an individual sport like snooker is extremely rare. Like I'd have say of the top 16, 32 players, surely there can't be many that don't lean into the sports psychology a little bit at least.
No, it's more the other way. It's more still
really?
quite rare that you have. You obviously have coaches. Like even my own coach, we say Chris Henry, he obviously deals in the mental side as well. But Mark Allen has a sports psychologist, but just people that have just a sports psychologist, a lot of them still wouldn't have coaches. It's only the last maybe 10 years that the coaches has kind of become a thing. So snooker was always kind of a little bit behind that. I remember even like as a kid, like if somebody had a coach, I remember living like, oh, look at your man, he has a coach there. They were really pleased if he got beaten, So snooker has slowly but surely progressed, and that's going to come, and that's you can see now. And again, O'Sullivan was the standard bearer with the fitness, how fit he is, with his diet. So that more and more is becoming a thing.
You'd think they'd be looking though at the younger players, would be looking at Ronnie and Steve Peters and the work he's done with Peters and gone, right, well, Ronnie's clearly successful, Steve Peters has clearly helped him win a number of those world titles, so you'd think they'd all be heading that direction then. I'm surprised to hear that there's not more. Yeah, no,
it is getting there, but it has been slow, and as I said, over the years it was known it's slowly but surely coming in or being accepted, or starting to get feared as in, oh, he is working with a coach, but I said it is slow progress with that.
And are the coaches really just about enhancing the quality of the practice as opposed to really significantly changing technique?
I suppose the better you are, it's less to do with technique, because you can generally play. You know, if a lot of the time if you make changes, you're probably just really finding a different way to play rather than maybe being any better. But the transfer you're looking for is that to play like you do in practice in matches. You know, that's ideally what you want, because again, you look at everybody in practice. You know, we all look $1 million and think like, how does he ever miss? How does he ever lose?
Yeah.
But then when you get out to play, then your mind, you know, you just tend to get in your own way, or you know, I certainly found that myself. You're trying to maybe control things, or trying to over trying was certainly something for me. So
because you're coaching now, right?
Yeah, the last year or so.
That's a really interesting transition to be making.
Yeah.
And now when you're coaching, do you think, geez, I really wish I'd had somebody helping me do the things that I'm doing for other people now? Yeah,
absolutely, yeah. Because it wasn't basically, when I started playing, if your coach or somebody was basically whoever's the best player in your club, you got a little bit of advice from that. That's what it was.
Yeah.
There's nothing really. It was only maybe the 80s. A guy called Frank Callan. He coached Davis in the 80s, Hendry in the 90s.
Right.
Good pedigree there.
Yeah.
And I did, in the early 2000s, I did start working with him, and I did kind of change my cue action because I felt I could get better or whatever. So that by the stuff I learned as a player has, in trying to improve as a player, gone into the coaching has helped. You know, but yeah, you're even telling people stuff and just rattling it off and going, yeah, that's good stuff, and you're a bit like, yeah, 30 years ago or 20, 30 years ago I wasn't thinking it, or I'm telling them stuff, but it's as much because I didn't do it myself.
Yeah,
it's consistently as I would have liked.
That's the benefit of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
I presume snooker players get the yips.
Yeah, that can happen. Yeah, I've known players. Patsy Fagan certainly had that. That's what done his career with the rest. Actually, he just had it with the rest.
Right.
But it's rare enough, but yeah, it has happened.
What's that then?
You're full of positives, aren't you?
Well, you get the value of the coaching then, because like if that can happen in a sport, then you need to work to prevent it. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and there can be players who can be overcoached. It's probably a personality thing, because you look at Luca Brecel, he seems to just get down in the shot so quickly. He of course thinks about it, but completely the polar opposite of Mark Selby, in that he gets down in the shot and he's just playing. He's doing as little thinking perhaps as is possible.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very decisive, because that's again, that's something I kind of struggle a bit with. But generally, 99 times out of 100, when you first come to the table, the shot you first see is the shot to play. It's rare that changes. Again, sometimes you're more important to be decisive rather than correct. Whereas Selby, to be fair, and actually I thought Mark Allen has kind of slipped into that little piece, because he's generally very quick. Attacking player, he's nearly kind of second guessing himself. I don't think it's been to his advantage. You know, he's trying to be looking for what you would say the correct shot.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's very.
He got dragged into Selby's game a bit, Alan. I felt in the semi-final that slow, 29-30 second average shot time. Like, whereas Brecel just. Well, having said that, when it got back to 16-15 to Brecel last night, you probably felt that Selby was going to go on and win.
Yeah, it's amazing. Like with Selby, like he's 16-10 down. Normally you'd nearly be knocking the telly off like it's over. With Selby, you still think there's every chance here. And again, as a player, probably Brecel, his reputation, you need actually probably without realising wait for him to come back. So Selby's thinking about coming back, and so is Brecel. But no, it was great. I thought with Mark Allen, as I said, the style of play, I think Mark himself was happy enough to go toe to toe, have longer frames. It wouldn't necessarily suit Mark Allen, I don't think, as much as Selby. But also, Luca Brecel, he's quicker. But also, Mark Allen would play like a thin safety and keep the pack together, whereas Luca Brecel first chance would play thick safety. So that then forces Selby either to go for one, or Selby's next shot is harder, because his safety has to be better if potentially Brecel can pot 5 or 6 reds, whereas if it's a tight pack. And again, what might be a shot long pot the players might refuse or mightn't get, Luca's going to go for, and if he's playing well, get a high percentage. So it puts a greater pressure on your own game, you know.
I think Roy Keane was there. Was at the Crucible at the weekend. Or he was certainly there on Sunday night. So he got the session in with the Selby maximum break, which wasn't a bad one.
Oh yeah.
To get to. But
could you imagine if there was the Allen and Selby semi, he'd be giving abuse.
Jesus, yeah. He'd probably say Selby was just doing his job for the 147. But I mean, how do you put that achievement into context? To get it's with the first ever time there's been a maximum break in a world final, which is very, very impressive, and it's a first 147 at the Crucible for Selby generally. So maybe put that into context for us. Like that's quite an achievement. Yeah,
it's brilliant. It really is. I said in the final with the pressure that's there and the crowd, and to be fair, his cue ball control was so good. It was only just he never looked like missing, you know what I mean? Because even when you thought, okay, when he maybe gets down to the colours, the pressure might kick in, you know. And then even when he's put the pink and he's going, you know, going to messing with his tongue and he's stuck on the black, you know what I mean? Whereas you're still like, make sure you put the black. You know, you look pretty foolish if you miss the black, but no, it's fantastic to keep, because from early your mind just can get ahead of yourself. Like, so even in practice, sometimes you could be, you know, you're on 64 and you start getting a little bit ahead of yourself, which can slow you down and tighten up. But no, it's fantastic.
It's a bit wild that Brecel wins, having won the first round 10-9, and then having been so far behind Ronnie, who you just think is like going to cruise to this, and then going to, you know, ultimately the winner took that, you know.
Yeah.
Is that just a sign that this guy has something very unique, and we could see him win multiple, or is that like, this is his week, he should really enjoy this because this is never going to happen again? Lightning struck multiple times across the course of the 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's that. If I put a number, I'd say he could maybe win 2 or 3.
Right.
I don't think he's 7 or 8. But I mean, since he was 13, 14, like, we've all heard about him.
Yeah.
Where there's this kid in Belgium, and I think players have begun. Hendry might be going over to do exhibitions, and he was hammering them. And then at 17, he made his first time at the Crucible. So it's more being delayed.
Right.
You know, you more at 17 thought, could he be the youngest ever world champion?
You'd say it was the maturing, except it didn't feel that way from the stories he was telling us, you know?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, look, real nice guy, real quiet guy. But again, always stayed in the general consensus, the fact that he stayed in Belgium, because again, even like myself and Ken and others, you had to go to England, you had to be playing the players to improve, to raise the standard. He's always stayed on his own, and even when he was at home, it wasn't like he was even practicing with other players, so it was a lot of solo work.
Yeah.
And generally, if you do too much solo work, you know, it doesn't kind of work. So but again, it worked for him, you know.
It's like the tap open, because he's been playing at the Crucible for 11 years now.
Yeah, never won a game.
And had never won a game, always first round exit. So, and it was, as he mentioned last night afterwards, like Ricky Walden, 10-9 first round, could have easily lost that match in the decider, but it's like the tap opened. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. When he won the first, there was the shades of it. I don't know, for if you're old enough, to Joe Johnson. He had that couple of weeks just flying under no pressure. Of course, beat Steve Davis in the final. And we haven't had a kind of a Joe Johnson winner, you know, maybe Sean Murphy a little piece in 2005. So one was kind of due, but I mean, no disrespect to Joe Johnson because he won the Worlds, but Luca's a far better player than you know, it's not quite a case of that was his week and good night. No, he's
so we should
super talented. And again, he's still at 28, so.
Should mention before we finish, Fergal's been inducted into the Irish Snooker Hall of Fame in
Congratulations
recent days as well.
Yeah, Sunday I was quite proud of myself for that.
Quite an achievement, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I was pleased actually, because there was a ceremony and like my family came, whether my wife and mum and dad, and Angus McAnally was he's involved with the Snooker Billiards Association. So I was up there, he asked me a few questions. I was delighted because I said if I'd have started speaking I'd probably still be crying. So I was delighted, just kind of distracted me, but no, it really was. It was a lovely ceremony, the kind of, you know, picture on the wall, like see Ken got inducted last year. So no, it really was chuffed with that, to be fair.
Great. Well, we wish you the very best with the coaching and everything else that's coming as well. Fergal, good stuff. Thanks a million for joining us.
Thanks for
Fergal O'Brien, give us some thoughts on the World Snooker finals there.